Imagine a New Orleans that is growing, thriving, a city of opportunity, the economic heartbeat of the Gulf region. The New Orleans Business Alliance was created 9 years ago to make that future a reality. We began as an unapologetically pro-New Orleans business supporter. Since 2010, the city of New Orleans has been synonymous with success. Over these 9 years, the Business Alliance has helped to build a new economic landscape. Yet despite the years of economic progress that have occurred, far too many citizens remain largely untouched. Currently, 19% of all New Orleans families live below the poverty line. In January 2018, the New Orleans Business Alliance committed to approaching economic development and opportunity in an integrated manner.
The Business Alliance is really focused on 4 focus areas: business attraction and retention, small business growth, talent and workforce development, and the last is strategic neighborhood development. Business attraction and retention is critically important because you have to always retain and see your existing businesses grow. And then you also have to be very competitive for attracting new capital and new investment. One of the biggest opportunities is to have New Orleans expats come back home.
I moved back to New Orleans from Arkansas.
I was living in New York City.
I moved back from San Jose, California. Once I found out that Accruent would be opening up a new office in New Orleans, I decided to come home and return back to my family.
So in the last 4 years, opportunities for senior positions in technical fields have grown drastically.
There are a lot more job opportunities just to even browse and apply to. I think there's just this new kind of economy on the rise. It feels complete.
Overall, small business growth is incredibly important because in a city that's majority person of color and majority women, you've got to make sure that you get all your players on the field.
New Orleans Business Alliance, they help you get a seat at the table. You're in the room. So it puts everybody in one place so you can meet and create relationships that way. Growth of my company through advocacy has been definitely substantial. We've grown from maybe 30 people to 80 people. We're in 15 different states now. We're definitely growing by leaps and bounds.
Talent and workforce development is critically important because the number one issue that businesses have is finding and retaining talent. We have such a talented group of folks who are New Orleanians. We want to make sure that all that talent is able to be brought to the table and to participate economically. So the partners with deployment of the STRIDE professional development curriculum are first and foremost the City of New Orleans through their One-Stop Job One, Goodwill Industries of Louisiana, Urban League of Louisiana, and Total Community Action.
STRIDE brought me back, gave me confidence. I have so low self-esteem when I first started the class, and they brought that out of me.
Some of our employees from STRIVE are our most passionate, hardworking, loving people that we have at Big Easy.
I just love it. It's like I go home every day like, I feel complete.
The reason why strategic neighborhood development is so important because ultimately it affects people where they live. And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that the demonstrative economic growth that's occurred in the central business district is felt in places like New Orleans East.
The main thing that we want to achieve in the East, we want a viable, successful, livable community. When I drive down the I-10 corridor, I see flourishing businesses on both sides of the interstate. I see a New Orleans East where we have retail, where we have jobs, where we have low crime. It's going to take folks working on both sides of the aisle, the public, the private, for us to come together and make New Orleans East a better place.
The reason why it's critically important for our culture bearers to be able to have life-sustaining wages for themselves and their family is because they're the reason why people come to the city.
People only come here for the talent, they come here for the sauce. And you got to take care of the ground from which the sauce grows from. There ain't gonna be no more sauce. I think the best thing for New Orleans is to focus on the torchbearers, the purveyors of the culture, focus on the locals. You know, get that soil right, keep it rich for them, and New Orleans will thrive. New Orleans will thrive.
If all people of color throughout Metro New Orleans, including the formerly incarcerated, had equitable access to economic opportunity, the state would see an additional $7 billion in earnings and $20 billion in overall economic impact.
So we get there by making sure that there are jobs that will provide life-sustaining wages for folks. We get there by making sure that there are tools that help our small businesses take that next level in the growth. We get there by making sure that we have opportunities to train and retrain everyone. And we also get there by making sure that the neighborhoods that we live in are vibrant places that have great amenities. That's economic development reimagined. That's economic development that puts people at the center.
Imagine how economic equity would change New Orleans. Imagine this city as one where culture bearers thrive economically through their art, where entrepreneurs grow Fortune 500 companies from small businesses launched in Treme or New Orleans East. Imagine a New Orleans where culture, equity, and prosperity are what we create, protect, build, and grow.
New Orleans Business Alliance, culture, equity, prosperity. We really are excited about our new tagline, Economic Development Reimagined. We're also really focused on leaning in to our new logo, which will have culture, equity, and prosperity. We're putting our values out front so that everyone knows where we stand. Good afternoon, and welcome to the first annual meeting of the New Orleans Business Alliance. If you'll permit me one moment just to soak this in, I am so thrilled to see this room. Can you give yourselves a round of applause, please? Truly, it's wonderful to see so many colleagues, partners, and friends in attendance. Your attendance means so much to us and demonstrates your commitment to creating a more prosperous and inclusive New Orleans. A week before America's 243rd birthday, it is appropriate to highlight the importance of New Orleans in making America what it is today. An America stretching from sea to shining sea would not have occurred if it wasn't for New Orleans. America would not have expanded across the continent without the Louisiana Purchase. Our city, the largest city closest to the mouth of the Mississippi, was the 9th largest city at the time of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Without that purchase, there would be no Silicon Valley, no world energy leadership for the United States, no Rocky Mountain High. Yet despite this auspicious start, our city, our great city, home to Leah, Malcolm, and Dave, the only North American city to have birthed a global music idiom and a cuisine, has underperformed economically, given the assets that we possess. However, over the past decade, our city has focused on its economic competitiveness and achieved demonstrative results. We have a diversifying economy. We're retaining more college students from across the world post-graduation, and we have a redoubled commitment to educating all of our residents. Economic Development Reimagined aims to attract financial and human capital by competing and winning in the free market. It creates a city where your birth zip code does not define or dictate your ultimate business or home address. We're going to reimagine the benefits of difference and diversity as New Orleans competes in an increasingly more global marketplace. Economic Development Reimagined demands that the hues of our business community reflect the shades of all of our friends and neighbors. In short, we are remixing Adam Smith's capitalism. As Diddy once yelled on a record, this is the remix. Thank you. That was an applause line. I appreciate that. Economic Development Reimagined is rethinking economic development. Transactions, project announcements, and ribbon cuttings remain important. However, we must not forget to value the relationships we have with each other and continue to build. Relationships that result in more dollars circulating throughout our local economy, more joint ventures, more mentor-protege relationships, more deals, and more real investment in each other. Economic Development Reimagined is a capitalism that expands the bottom line by leveraging the competitive advantage of our city's greatest asset, each of us, all of you. In January 2018, our team expanded its capacity to deliver a new and more inclusive economic development model. We incorporated workforce development programs and strategic neighborhood development to positively impact friends and neighbors living in all parts of the city, especially in those neighborhoods underappreciated throughout our city's history. Economic Development Reimagined is a business alliance focused on 4 distinct work streams: business attraction and retention, small business growth, talent and workforce development, and strategic neighborhood development. For those of you who know me, you know I love sports. So allow me to quote Drew Brees, Super Bowl champion, and soon to be Super Bowl champion again. Who dat? Anyone can see the adversity in a difficult situation, but it takes a stronger person to see the opportunity. We are strong in New Orleans. We see opportunity. The video you just watched, our aspirations require that we aim very high. We know we have an incredible amount of work to do. To get there, we must remain passionate and steadfast in our mission. Economic development is only important because people matter. People, not mere announcements, not rankings, but people. Moms, dads, brothers, sisters, meemaws, pops, making groceries on Saturday morning, on Mondays eating beans and rice. We do this for the Betty Sashers, the Jonine Smiths, and their crew and employees. We do it for our families, friends, and neighbors, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, ability, religion, ward, or high school. Is Betty Satcher here? Is Betty here? I can't see anybody. If she's here, please give her a round of applause. Please stand, Betty. Betty Satcher, we want more people to feel complete. I say this knowing full well that we have a lot of work to do to overcome historic challenges. Former Congressman Jack Kemp once wrote, "By giving people access to capital and allowing them to take ownership of assets, entrepreneurship will be encouraged, and the cycle of poverty can begin to be broken. All persons should have the opportunity to go as high as their merit and determination can carry them." That is not a black or white statement, business or government. That is a green statement. And I'm talking about cash in hand statement. Congressman Kemp's reminder contains the promise of capitalism and the promise that it holds for all of us, which is the free expression of entrepreneurialism, creative risk-taking. Significant portions of our city have not had a seat at the economic table, that opportunity to soar to where their merit and determination will take them. Sadly, this reality has held back our city, our state, our nation. But it ends with each of us. It ends today. By reimagining economic development, we are intentionally working to create a seat at the financial table for all New Orleanians. In fact, let me repeat, let our intentions be clear. This reality has held back our city, our state, our nation, but it ends with each of us. It must end today before we walk out this room. By reimagining economic development, we are intentionally working to not only create that seat at the financial table for all New Orleanians, but also to reimagine how the invitation list to the table is determined. This is possible, and it must happen. The table is not a finite size. We cannot fall captive to the small-mindedness of zero-sum thinking. We will make New Orleans' financial table bigger, and in doing so, we'll experience greater economic growth, competitiveness, and prosperity for all of us. We can do this. So what makes the New Orleans Business Alliance more than a traditional economic development organization? It's not just our goals and aspirations. It is the work we undertake daily in each of our 4 work streams that sets us apart. I encourage you to take home the beautiful annual impact report at your seat. It's that beautiful report I'm holding in my little hand. Because since in the interest of time, I can only provide highlights of the Business Alliance's work. To date, with help from our partners, we have provided industry-leading professional development training to nearly 300 Strive participants. That's right. Thank you. 85% of those participants are now employed. Betty Satcher is a perfect example of that. We have developed occupational training models for major employers like Ochsner Health System and Walgreens. Through our partnership with the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, we've directly supported 300 local musicians. That's right. Fully subsidizing copyrights for 60 of them to get paid as they provide the soundtracks of the uniquely wonderful life that we enjoy here. In the first half of this year, our bioindustry team has already hosted 14 bioinnovation companies on prospect visits to New Orleans. 50 Forward has been connecting young professionals to opportunities in our city for 10 years. We've engaged 3,000 young professionals through the initiative in the past 12 months alone. And in partnership with Nucor, the City of New Orleans, Kresge Foundation, and others, we've raised $5 million for the, that's right, give it up. That's real money. $5 million, sounds so good I'll say it twice, for the Bill Nolan Mobilization Fund to increase contract access for DBE enterprises and public contractors. This is what makes us different. This is the evidence of our reimagining. New Orleans is culture. It makes us unique. It is why people want to be here. It is why we live here. It is that sauce that Nesby Phipps described in the video. Nesby, are you here? If he is, shout out, stand up, be recognized, my brother. Each one of our work streams is anchored in supporting, growing, and protecting our culture and those who create the special sauce that is New Orleans. Our elevator pitch to the world for why New Orleans: culture, equity, prosperity. Allow those words to sink in. Culture, equity,
Prosperity. We will win because we're reimagining the how to grow our economy, to grow opportunity. Our equity focus and goal of prosperity for all is about giving everyone the opportunity to have economic security. Imagine if the table included and fed everyone. Imagine that. With hard work and determination, it will be more than the title of that iconic Beatles song, but the lived reality of our friends and neighbors. Imagine together we will get there. I'm proud to welcome to the stage Ashley Gardier, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, my partner in opportunity to introduce our newest initiative.
To make economic development reimagined a reality for the business community, we must provide business leaders with the tools they need to reach their growth potential. In a traditional sense, it's good site selection tools, access to incentives, and a trained workforce. But the Business Alliance has taken that a step further. I'm proud to announce to you today that we are unveiling one new initiative and 3 powerful online tools unique to your economic development organization that will help businesses grow. These new resources are designed to support small businesses, especially those who face barriers that others do not. We do this in partnership with the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation, who has contributed $500,000 to directly support the intentional growth and expansion of our local economy. Small businesses have been a part of our story for over 300 years. However, within that history, we recognize that inequities prevent many of our small business owners and their employees from reaching full economic prosperity. This new initiative addresses those historic inequities, creating more opportunities for all. National research by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation says that when we raise the average earnings of people of color to match those of their white counterparts, we would generate an additional $1 trillion in earnings. Because this gain would be generated through greater productivity, it would translate to an additional $2.7 trillion in economic output in the nation. While this sounds incredible, it is absolutely achievable. To take steps towards making this vision a reality, we have launched a powerful suite of tools that combine data aggregation, analytics, and intuitive design to produce results for local business owners. I'd like to turn your attention to this video that elaborates on the capabilities of these new resources.
The New Orleans Business Alliance is proud to announce a new small business initiative and 3 new online tools, all geared to growing the New Orleans economy for everyone. Through our enhanced website and critical partnerships, we are working to ensure that our new impactful initiative and 3 robust online tools will facilitate capacity building, inspire growth, and deliver access to resources for all local small businesses, especially those owned by entrepreneurs of color. Our first online tool is the Business Insight Tool, an elegant and powerfully comprehensive data resource. It helps anyone find the market information they need to launch and scale their business. Anyone can use this tool. Nonprofits, site selectors, industry decision makers, and even the media will find an immense amount of data. Next is the Crescent City Biz Connector. This online tool categorizes resources based on services needed for every business, no matter their stage of growth. Select your industry, identify your lifecycle stage, demographics, and resources needed, and the Crescent City Biz Connector maps your path to the right organization for your needs. Next up is the Opportunities Portal. Working with local private and public sector leaders, this tool could infuse millions of dollars into small businesses across the city. The portal allows businesses and public agencies to post procurement contract opportunities, connecting local small businesses to an expanding universe of earnings potential. Finally, through a collaboration with J.P. Morgan Chase and partners like Tulane and Xavier Universities, the New Orleans Business Alliance announces Invest NOLA. This program directly addresses the needs of entrepreneurs of color with high growth potential. Through education, access to capital, and opportunities, this initiative will help small businesses grow into middle market companies. All of these are accessible at nolaba.org. One website, 4 growth options. The New Orleans Business Alliance. Culture, equity, prosperity.
Thank you. NOLABA.org presents the most powerful and accessible tool in our region for growing companies. Our resources ensure that local businesses can stay, grow, and thrive. And to be clear, these tools are not just for small businesses, but for anyone seeking to do business in New Orleans. And now it is my pleasure to welcome the chairman of the New Orleans Business Alliance Board of Directors and Chief Administrative Officer for the City of New Orleans, Gilbert Montano.
Thank you, Ashley. It's my honor to speak with you all today. I'm humbled by the members in attendance and what you do for the city of New Orleans. I'm new to the city. Little over a year ago, when the mayor asked me to be her new CAO, I took a leap of faith that I embrace every day of my life. My children and I moved over 1,000 miles to an unknown community at the time. Since that leap, New Orleans has welcomed and accepted us with open arms. We bought a house, my kids finished their first year of school, and we're about to adopt a dog. This is home, and I believe in this city. New Orleans is truly one of the last great American cities, and I'm so proud to serve as your CAO. Although new to the city, I'm not new to this role. I've worn this hat before in smaller and larger cities. I've had the privilege of leadership roles in both the public and private sectors. The equation for running a city is relatively simple. A well-run city must focus on 4 main tenets: public safety, quality basic services, which includes infrastructure, transparency, and economic development. The mayor prioritizes each of these core functions and has demonstrated that by appointing me as chairman of the board. Everyone in this room knows that 0 people have had success without working hard. And you can be sure that the city and the New Orleans Business Alliance has been working hard. We aim to develop and create a powerful public-private partnership, a partnership that facilitates a range of economic development projects and investments within the city, projects that would not have been possible without strong private sector support and investment. We know a well-run city is vital for successful economic development. And as we begin our 2nd year, we remind ourselves that to manage effectively, we must provide clear expectations to our employees and accept that clarity is power, and our currency as leaders is our attention to the details. We remain committed to improving the operational and financial capacities of the city. A few examples I'll share. We've introduced a zero-based budgeting process to our departments that truly will help city leaders to think and operate their departments more like a business. We've evaluated and diversified the city's funding streams through bond sales. The city's currently seeking about $500 million in bonds over the next several years with a focus on maintenance and replacement plans. We have to be intentional and about how we're thinking long-term, and this investment just demonstrates that. We recently assessed the city's investment portfolio and diversified our investments, which has netted over $1 million in return just this fiscal year. We're currently going through a process of implementing a new enterprise resource planning, ERP system, which will allow the city to use integrated applications to manage our operations and automate our back office functions, allowing each level of manager to more effectively run their operation. And most importantly, we are increasing responsibility and accountability among city leaders and spending significant amounts of time focusing on their change management plans. We understand that when it comes to economic development, some departments will have to function at the speed of business, and no may not be an option. As the mayor and her team move the city forward, we know we have to make a significant investment in a generational economic development plan. It is more than a concept that we should all work towards. It's a set of goals and an effort designed to create long-term growth, economic sustainability, and generational wealth for all New Orleanians. We know that anything that comes too fast usually does not last. So we don't want to rush into a strategy without being inclusive, comprehensive, and thoughtful. Ultimately, the city must create the long-term transformational change for ourselves, our families, and future generations. My goal for the organization is for you to believe our intentions and trust our abilities. And I know for that to happen, we must not remain program-rich and systems-poor. Instead, we must demonstrate to others our ability to make the necessary investments in people, places, and businesses so we can create opportunities for economic security for all. Just recently, our ability to obtain critical financial support for fixing our drainage systems was tested. This challenge taught us an important lesson, that even in difficulty, there is opportunity. And I want to sincerely thank everyone in this room that helped make this a reality, and challenge everyone else to keep investing and fighting for our city. As we know, the current need often seems insurmountable, but together much can be accomplished. The Fair Share deal will bring about $202 million of funding over the next 5 years dedicated to our drainage, maintenance, and power. This was a critical first step on the path of addressing the city's vital infrastructure needs. We know that any road to success is through commitment, and committed we are. Over the last year, New Orleans has seen job creation and investment. As Quentin said, among the many wins was DXC Technology, Accruent, Dixie Brewing, and in March, the Business Alliance joined Mayor Cantrell and New Corp to launch the $5 million mobilization fund, as discussed. And just last week, it was announced that the City of New Orleans would be one of 10 cities participating in a new national initiative to identify, pilot, and measure the success of interventions to accelerate economic mobility for their residents. We understand our responsibility, and we collectively know how talented New Orleanians are. But as it's been said, talent without discipline is like an octopus on roller skates, which is why our job is so important. And we must be sure our residents are prepared for and have access to the jobs of the future. In closing, we want to evangelize that public victory only comes from private discipline. And the culture we want to create is that of discipline. We make this decision daily, and we hope that our city is a better place now and for future generations. Quentin, I applaud you and your staff. As a citizen of New Orleans, I'm optimistic about the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert, for your commitment to New Orleans and the energy you bring to the board of directors. Albuquerque's loss certainly has been New Orleans' gain. Thank you again. Please give him a round of applause. I would like to turn your attention to the screens for a short video introducing our keynote speaker.
I always try to learn something new every year, and one year I decided I was going to learn to juggle. I attempt to juggle. I was born very poor in the 9th Ward in New Orleans. My mom and dad worked very hard. They both had to stop their education in 8th grade, but they were very smart people, and they insisted that all of us had a great education. We also had 27 foster brothers and sisters because my parents were very giving people. We didn't have much, but what we had, we shared, and I like to think of myself as still a very sharing person. As a child, I wanted to be several things, and I thought I would be all of them because I was a child. So I first wanted to be the youngest president in the history of the United States. The second goal was to be an astronaut while being president of the United States. And of course, like every child, I was going to be a professional football player, and I was going to star for my hometown team, the New Orleans Saints, all at the same time. I was on the board of Carnival for 13 years when I got the call from the lead director, Stu Sabachnik, who said, Mickey and the board would like you to run the company, which shocked me. And so I almost said no on the spot because I had retired at that point, and now I was ridiculous. I should have been begging for the job. It is the best job in the world. I'm always working on how to accelerate change. How do I pull our people together? How do I inspire them? Our crew is from 140 countries. Our guests are from even more nations than that. We bring them together. So then they learn to celebrate the differences rather than fear them. There's never been a better time to cruise.
And now, without further ado, please join me in giving a rousing homecoming, bring more cruises to New Orleans welcome to our keynote speaker, proud Purple Knight, sorry Ron Eagles, and proud Carrollton College Knight, Arnold W. Donald.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's always a little embarrassing to see that video, but thank you guys for watching that. And I just want to thank you for coming here today. You know, that little tune they play whenever I go anywhere, it's kind of my walk-on music, is Santana's Smooth. But the line in it is, keep it real or forget about it. And what I'm seeing here today in this turnout and in the comments made in the presentation is, and what I love about New Orleans is New Orleans keeps it real. And so I think you're doing real stuff today, you're keeping it real, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I'd especially like to recognize the New Orleans Business Alliance for the very hard work and all the accomplishments, not only in the book and the publication, but also in the comments made today, you know, for your hard work. You're doing very admirable work, and that work is very needed and is very necessary. And Quentin, thank you for your leadership, but also thank you for the invitation to be here today. So, thank you. So at Carnival Corporation, we like to believe we're dream makers. You know, we help people fulfill their dreams of travel, of adventure, of romance, of getting the family together on a cruise. But we recognize that not everyone is so lucky to have these kinds of dreams. A lot of people have dreams that are much, much more basic. Good health, warm clothes, a safe place to live and play, the dream of an education or of a career, the dream of starting a business, or simply just a good, steady job and the ability to live independently to support their family. And it's only when those dreams are fulfilled they can go on to have other dreams. So I want to thank the New Orleans Business Alliance again, and I want to thank all of you in this room for helping to lift up the lives of our fellow citizens here in New Orleans. And let's work together to ensure the prosperity of New Orleans, and that prosperity is available to enjoy for all of our citizens. So thank you for your hard work again, your dedication, and I love this city so much, so it's really inspiring to see you here. Now, I'm often asked to share my story, both my personal story and my career. You saw a little bit of it in that video that just showed. Yes, it's true, I grew up poor in the Ninth Ward. A lot of people can say that, but I can say it too. And I eventually became CEO of the world's largest leisure travel company. But looking around this room right now and the people I've met coming in, I know that there are many more interesting, more compelling, and more inspiring stories than mine in this room right here today. So I'm actually very flattered that you guys have asked me to share mine. Now, as we all know, there are many people in New Orleans community who weren't as lucky as I was to have a loving family at home. And in fact, some of my family is here today, and I'm going to ask them to please stand up if you'll allow me to indulge. I'd like to introduce my sister, Olive Marie McLeod. Marie, wherever you are, stand up. Yeah, in the back here. My brother-in-law, Willie McLeod. Everybody's got to have an Uncle Willie in their family. He's our Uncle Willie. My niece, Nicole Simmons, my niece, Nicole. And then friends of my sister, Michelle Bier and Melba Nevels. Please stand, Michelle, Melba. Thank you guys for being here. And you know I love you to death. So, now I also had a great school to guide me. You heard a little bit about it already. In New Orleans, you can't get away from it. When my family wasn't around to keep me in line, it was at St. Aug that the Josephite fathers would announce 3 times a day, "Gentlemen, prepare yourselves. one day you will run the world. And they made us believe that despite what was going on outside those school walls. Because I grew up in the 60s in a time of segregation, and the prejudice, the injustices, the constant declarations that epitomized what segregation was. You were second-class citizens. You can't drink out this water fountain. You can't use this bathroom. You can't come into this place. You can't sit at that counter. And despite all of that, St. Aug made us believe anything was possible. It taught me pride, preparation, perseverance, and confidence. And somewhere along the way, they successfully brainwashed me into believing that I could be a successful business executive. And in fact, my junior year in high school, I decided I wanted to be a general manager in a science-based Fortune 50 global company. I had no idea what that was, okay? But I prepared to do it. And they instilled in me the drive and the discipline to make that dream a reality over the next many years. Now, wherever I went, though, along that path, whatever I did, minority participation in the executive levels and in the C-suites in corporate America was an exception, not the rule. And the importance of diversity and inclusion is one of the strongest beliefs I've brought to every endeavor, and that's including Carnival. Diversity and true inclusion benefits everybody. In our world, for communities to thrive, the businesses in that community must thrive. If you go anywhere in the country and businesses have collapsed, you see the impact on the arts, education, recreation, everything. In order for businesses to thrive over time, they need to innovate. And at its core, innovation is diversity of thinking. A diverse group of talented people aligned on a common objective with a work process that fosters true inclusion, equal respect, equal voice, equal opportunity for each team member will outperform a homogeneous group every time. Now, I've been a part of transforming 3 different industries in my career. All 3 by purposefully, intentionally ensuring we had diverse teams practicing true inclusion. So engineering diverse teams that work well together is a business imperative for sustained business success and ultimately for societal prosperity. In the 6 years I've been at Carnival as CEO, I'm proud to have recruited and promoted as my brand president, so we have 9 brands, a diverse group including 3 women for the Carnival brand, Princess brand in P&O, Australia, the first African-American male cruise line executive, Holland America Lines, a male member of the LGBT community, Seaborn. I've also recruited a Norwegian, someone who was born and raised in communist East Germany, and one of our most successful in our group, in fact, doesn't have a college degree. It's not about credentials, it's about character and the ability to deliver results. So let's talk a little bit about cruising. So I want to start with a heartfelt thank you to the people of New Orleans for welcoming our guests and our crew into your home for more than 25 years. How many of you have cruised? Okay, all of those of you who have not cruised, talk to the people next to you, okay? Come on, get with the program. You got time, all right? Let's do it. All right. Now, the 9 world-leading cruise lines within Carnival Corporation's portfolio sail to more than 700 ports around the world, all 7 continents, from the largest cities in the world like Shanghai to the smallest islands like Easter Island in the South Pacific. From the most visited cities like Venice to the remotest parts of Alaska. Our ships call on the wealthiest cities like Hong Kong, but we also visit some that are far less well off, like Vanuatu off the coast of Australia, and often on the same itinerary. So what all these places have in common? You know, what they have in common is a local population that wants to live, grow, and sustain their community. It's estimated that 30 million people will take a cruise this year somewhere in the world, and about half of those people will be on one of our 107 ships. Those 30 million plus people have an impact, and as we grow our industry, we're also growing in our appreciation of the fact that our future is based on sustainability, recognizing our global impact. Now at Carnival, our goal is not just to lessen our impact, but to actually leave the places we touch even better than they were when we first arrived. We aim to establish sustainable tourism partnerships throughout the world. And while we're held to a high standard by the public, we actually hold ourselves to an even higher standard. We've reached many sustainability milestones, including a reduction of over 26% in our carbon intensity since 2005, a 30% decrease in fuel consumption per passenger since 2006, and we're pioneering the use of liquefied natural gas. We made history with the first ship in the cruise industry, totally powered by liquefied natural gas, which is the world's cleanest fossil fuel. Thank you. Now, for those ships not burning LNG, over 2/3 are now equipped with advanced air quality systems that we have helped engineer and design, significantly reducing sulfur compounds and particulate matter emissions well within the evolving, tighter and tighter standards. And we believe that sustainability is not just linked to the natural environment. It also includes what we've been talking about here today: labor practices, social issues, and economics, ensuring that the communities we visit share in economic prosperity. Cruising helps create small and large businesses around the world and in port cities like New Orleans. Carnival was the first cruise line to operate year-round from New Orleans, starting in 1994. So back then, we carried about 28,000 guests a year from New Orleans. Today, we have 2 ships here now, home ported, Carnival Glory and Carnival Valor. And those ships are a lot bigger, so we carry about 400,000 guests every year now. And in fact, New Orleans is the 6th largest cruise port in the United States, with a record 1.15 million cruise passengers in 2018. We love coming to New Orleans. The Port of New Orleans is particularly attractive because of the large drive-in market for cruise guests. There's about 40 million potential cruisers that live within an 8-hour drive of New Orleans. And the Cruise Line Industry Association reports that cruise industry supports 8,321, man, they really are accurate, jobs and direct expenditures of $432 million annually in Louisiana. And according to a recent study from economists at LSU, our guests and crew spend an estimated $129, I guess they're accurate, $2.1 million annually in the regional economy, staying in hotels, eating in the local restaurants, and shopping in the stores. And the cruise line spent an additional $125 million on businesses directly connected with the ship. That's companies supplying fuel and food and supplies and maintenance. Globally, 2017 cruise industry expenditures generate over $134 billion in total output worldwide, employing more than 1 million people in some aspect of the global cruise industry. I say either with the cruise line as a travel agent or in the industries directly affiliated like shipbuilding or as suppliers. And in fact, I know a lot of people in this room are probably supplying our ships in one way or another with service or product. The cruise industry means good jobs at all levels, and from the construction worker building new roads, to the chef with his own small restaurant, to the taxi driver, to the artist in a local craft market selling her work, cruise tourism contributes to the sustainable development of ports, neighboring communities, and of course, most importantly, the people of those communities. Now in 2022, we're going to be celebrating our 50th birthday, and in these past 5 decades, we've learned that local stakeholder engagement is absolutely critical to the success of our destinations. We need to listen, listen, listen to all the various stakeholders and support each community's unique vision of their healthy future. Now, we've identified 3 key impact indicators that characterize the overall well-being of communities: employment, economic development, and education. And we want to come alongside communities as strategic solution partners. In each location, the roadmap is different. But in order to have a successful long-term community partnership, the destination managers, the local government, the vendors, even the taxi drivers must be part of the conversation. They must have a clear view, a clear understanding of the impact but also the benefit of tourism to their local economy. Now, we love taking our guests to what for them is a new destination, with new adventures and lifelong memories, exceeding their expectations by providing them new experiences and introducing them to new cultures. But it's always in our long-term best interest to make sure the destinations we take our guests to are protected and maintained, and that they can grow in a sustainable way. It's unreasonable to expect the places we visit to be frozen in time without progress or be unaffected by the thousands, or in some cases, even millions of visitors exploring their city. In most major destinations, cruises only are a small part of the total number of travelers. Yet in some very popular communities like Dubrovnik, all the cruise lines are working together with the local community to manage the timing of port calls so that the cruise ships can stagger the arrival and departure times to ease congestion and overcrowding at certain times of the day. Or implementing overnight visits that benefit local stores and restaurants in the evening hours as well. Other ports have different challenges. In these places, our goal is to share the economic value of cruising by helping to establish strong, locally owned businesses and recognizing where our own bureaucratic systems might be impeding their development. And so we're constantly exploring ways that our ships themselves can be useful partners in some of the communities we touch. So from recycling our used furniture for use by local charities in our home ports to establishing close relationships, like the one with a local orphanage in Charleston, offering them everything from dishes to mattresses, we can try to make a difference. Having a good working relationship alongside our communities also helps in times of need by quickly bringing aid, and that could be food or water or shelter, medical help and expertise whenever it's urgently needed. Now, Carnival Corporation, our brand, stepped in as caring partners for our destinations in need after Hurricane Harvey and Katrina, as well as the recent hurricanes in the Caribbean and the typhoons in the South Pacific. Helping our destinations get back to normal is not just self-serving. It means getting jobs and lives back on track. In the Caribbean, we're partnering with UNICEF and the United Way, as well as all the local government agencies, helping the islands of St. Martin, Puerto Rico, Dominica, Turks and Caicos rebuild after a series of devastating storms, and also helping them prepare for better recovery and disaster relief for future storms. Now, at Carnival Corporation, as I mentioned, our goal is always to leave the places we visit and touch even better than we found them. And we have a saying, happy locals, happy guests. We want to be a good corporation. We want to be good corporate citizens that are always welcome in the ports we visit, bringing hope and prosperity and goodwill wherever we sail. So I'd like to close by talking about the other, less recognized impact of the cruise industry, which may actually be the most important. In these days of political uncertainty, it's the simple traveler who becomes the ambassador. We're taking millions of these ambassadors every year to Mexico, to Russia, to China, to the Middle East. We were taking them to Cuba. Now we can't. We'll go back. And to the United States. And I believe that travel is the antidote to ignorance. And the more people cruise and see the world firsthand, the more that they will discover. Thank you. The more that they will discover what they share in common, and then they learn to appreciate, respect, and even celebrate their differences rather than to fear them. Even a McDonald 35 Ron Eagle and a St. Aug Purple Night. All right, Norman? All right, buddy. So look, I'm very proud of the positive influence the cruise industry can have in the world. I'm very humbled I have an opportunity to play, a role in it. And I'm very proud of the role our corporation has played and is playing in bringing the world closer together now and in the future. And that video, we have 120,000 employees from about 145 countries. And those employees connecting with each other, connecting with guests. We go to 700 ports around the world. all of those people connecting, makes the world a smarter, brighter, better place. So we're lucky. We're living in this golden age. There's absolutely never been a time to cruise. That is absolutely true. I want to thank you for listening. I hope to see you on one of our ships really, really soon. And I just want to, again, acknowledge the Business Alliance and you, Quentin, giving me an opportunity to speak, but most importantly, for the difference you're making here in New Orleans. All right, who dat, baby? Thank you. Well, my message here today was basically a personal story. They asked me to do that. And then a little bit about the cruise industry, its impact globally and its impact here in New Orleans. A big message within all that is the power of diversity and inclusion.
Talk a little bit about the power of diversity and inclusion as you see it.
Well, look, as I mentioned, today, a capitalistic society, that society thrives when businesses thrive. And businesses only thrive over time through innovation. And innovation, by definition, is diversity of thinking. And the best way to have diversity of thinking is engineer diversity on your teams. People are very different from each other, different backgrounds, different experiences, but together aligned around a common objective with a work process to work together because they're different. They need a work process. A diverse team that's truly inclusive, equal opportunity, equal voice, will outperform a homogeneous team every time. I've done it through 3 industries. I've helped transform 3 industries, engineering diversity. Diversity is a power in business.
Your reaction to what is happening here with the Business Alliance?
The Business Alliance, I think, is fantastic for New Orleans. The point of it all is to give opportunity to everyone, the focus on small business, but also inclusive opportunities in large businesses as well. And I think the spirit of it in terms of just guiding people to realize what the opportunities are and to cause others to be inclusive in presenting opportunities, to invite people to the table, is a power that can generate the diversity I've just talked about and generate growth and prosperity for New Orleans.
I am just wild. I am tremendously grateful. And I think that I'm excited that we've accepted the challenge. We got a lot of hard work ahead. We know that a great day like this is only the beginning. We got to fight after and get after it every day. But I really think that we now have more tools, more programming, and more importantly, a spirit de corps that are going to take us to victory.
How can people get more information?
You can get more information by going to our website, www.nolaba.org.